You've been told that wealth is a tangible force grounded in reality. History knows they are lying to you. The global economy you rely on is not a machine. It is an act of collective, fragile imagination that you participate in every day. To understand who truly controls your money today, you must return to the year the illusion shattered, 2008. Before the collapse, you were sold a euphoric blindness. Do you remember the golden era of the early 2000s? Money was cheap, and their greed was entirely unchecked. Your dream of prosperity had been weaponized against you. Banks didn't lend to you based on trust or capability. They lent based on a mathematical delusion. If you had a pulse, they gave you a mortgage. The foundations of their new empire were built on your sand. Millions of these terrible loans, maybe even yours, were gathered up. Wall Street alchemists prepared to turn your debt into their gold. They bundled your toxic debt into sophisticated packages. They called them collateralized debt obligations. These CDOs were poison. Yet the agencies you trusted stamped them with the highest seal of approval. The gatekeepers were paid by the very institutions they were supposed to protect you from. The watchdogs were asleep. Global investors, your pension funds, and your governments bought these toxic assets, believing them to be entirely safe. The web of interconnected debt grew so vast, no single human mind could comprehend how much danger you were in. The global financial system had become a bomb, ticking silently right beneath your feet. Then, the inevitable occurred. The music stopped. Interest rates ticked up, and people just like you began to default. The bottom tranches of the CDOs began to evaporate. The phantom wealth of your economy was burning away. Wall Street banks realized they were holding trillions in worthless paper. Their euphoria was replaced by sheer paranoia. Banks stopped lending to each other overnight. The arteries of the commerce you depend on instantly froze solid. March 2008. Bear Stearns, an 85-year-old titan, bleeds out in a matter of days. You watched it happen. The Federal Reserve brokers a desperate fire sale. They told you the contagion was contained. They lied to you. The summer is tense. You can feel the system shaking. The toxic rot runs deeper than anyone dared to admit to you. September arrives. The reckoning. Lehman Brothers, an institution older than many nations, files for bankruptcy. The shockwave circles the globe in milliseconds. Panic is a virus, and they had no cure for you. Stock markets violently crash. Trillions of dollars of your retirement savings are vaporized in a single afternoon. The credit markets, the lifeblood of your job and your security, suffer a total, catastrophic cardiac arrest. Without credit, cargo ships cannot move. Factories cannot buy raw materials. Your physical world halts. If you're still watching, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This isn't just a simple request for engagement, it shows me that we are truly connecting. Thank you for the support. And tell me, where are you watching from? Have you seen patterns like this in your country? Governments stare into the abyss. They face a choice. Let the corrupt system burn, or save the architects who destroyed your wealth. They chose the architects. The era of the mega bailout begins. They privatize the profits, but they socialize the losses onto you. Your government injects hundreds of billions into the failing banks through the Troubled Asset Relief Program. The perpetrators are made whole. You, the working class, are left to shoulder the devastating burden of the collapse. Millions, just like you, lose their homes. Tent cities rise in the shadows of the wealthiest nations on Earth. The crisis jumps the Atlantic. If you lived in Europe, you felt the fatal flaws of the Eurozone exposed. Whole nations are pushed to the brink of sovereign default. Your borders could not protect you from the financial rot. To save their system, central banks cross the Rubicon. They deploy a weapon called quantitative easing against your currency's value. They simply create trillions of dollars out of thin air to purchase the toxic assets they created. Interest rates are slashed to zero. The cost of money becomes virtually nothing for them, while your savings yield zero. They told you this was temporary emergency surgery. Instead, it became a permanent life support system that you are paying for. By keeping money free for the elite, they prevented a depression, but they destroyed the natural cycle of the capitalism you believed in. Zombie companies, unviable and deeply in debt, were kept alive by the endless stream of cheap credit that you never had access to. Your middle class began to hollow out. The wealth gap widened into a chasm, leaving you on the wrong side. Zero interest rates forced you and your pension funds to take massive risks just to find a return on your capital. Capital flooded into Silicon Valley. You watched a new bubble begin to inflate. larger and more pervasive than the last. Tech startups with no profits were valued at billions. The illusion of wealth had simply changed forms to fool you again. Wall Street, bailed out with your money, grew larger. Too big to fail became a weapon pointed directly at you. The rules of the game you play by were permanently altered. The market was no longer free. It was managed from above. Your economic power today is not defined by your hard work. It is defined by your proximity to their money printer. The closer you are to the central banks, the richer you become. You are experiencing the Cantillon Effect in its purest form. Hedge funds and massive asset managers vacuumed up your world's real estate and resources. They used free money to buy the single-family homes in your neighborhood, trying to turn you into a permanent renter. The 2008 crisis didn't destroy the financial elite. It consolidated their empire over you. You live in the echo of Lehman Brothers. Every financial tremor you feel today is a direct result of that initial earthquake. When inflation finally hit your wallet, violently, a decade later, it was the delayed bill for the bailouts they gave themselves. Their central banks had trapped themselves. Raise rates to fight your inflation, and their debt-heavy system collapses. Keep rates low, and the invisible tax of inflation destroys your purchasing power completely. They put you in a fatal checkmate. The crisis proved that the global economy is a hostage situation. And you are the hostage. Nations outside the Western sphere watched your economy collapse in 2008 with absolute horror. They realized the danger of relying entirely on the dollar you use and the Western financial infrastructure. This accelerated the quiet war against the currency in your pocket. The seeds of a multipolar financial world were planted. Gold reserves in the East began to surge. They quietly prepared for the next fracture while you were told everything was fine. Cryptocurrency was born directly from the ashes of your stolen wealth in 2008, a cryptographic rebellion. Bitcoin's very first block contained a headline about bank bailouts, a permanent scar on the blockchain for you to remember. Yet, the traditional system adapted, absorbing its threats. Wall Street now trades the very assets meant to free you. Today, the derivative market is exponentially larger than it was before the crash. A towering monolith of hidden risk hanging over you. Banks are required to hold more capital, but the true danger to your money has shifted to the shadow banking sector. Unregulated, unseen, holding trillions in private credit. The shadow banks are the new architects of your leverage. If the shadow system cracks, they will give you no public warnings. You will only experience sudden, catastrophic illiquidity. The power dynamic of your 21st century is entirely dictated by the debt they incurred to survive the last crisis. Sovereign debt has exploded. Your government is now entirely dependent on central bank manipulation to stay solvent. You, the middle class, once the engine of global prosperity, are now merely the shock absorber for the elite's mistakes. Your wages have stagnated while their asset prices have skyrocketed. This is not an accident. It is a mathematical certainty. The 2008 crisis taught the powerful a dangerous lesson. There are no consequences for ruining your life. Moral hazard was institutionalized. If failure guarantees them a bailout with your tax money, extreme risk is their only logical strategy. You are now trapped in their cycle of boom, bust, and bailout. Each cycle requires them to print more of your money than the last. Your currency itself is being sacrificed to preserve their financial architecture, the ultimate invisible default against you. Look at the geopolitical landscape around you today. The tension, the conflict, the populism, all rooted in your economic alienation. When the social contract is broken by their financial engineering, your society fractures. Your trust is the ultimate casualty. Power has shifted from your democratic institutions to unelected central bankers who dictate the price of your survival. They hold press conferences that move trillions of dollars with a single whispered phrase: unprecedented control over your destiny. This concentration of economic power makes the system you live in more rigid, more brittle, and ultimately more dangerous. You are navigating a global economy built over a fault line that has never stopped violently shifting beneath you. The illusion of recovery you see is maintained by an ever-expanding ocean of debt. It is a statistical mirage meant to placate you. Real power today is their ability to socialize their losses onto you while weaponizing their access to infinite liquidity. The legacy of 2008 is the death of your free market capitalism, replaced by financial oligarchy. They own the land, they own the data, they own the debt. You merely rent your existence from them. You might believe this current paradigm is permanent. The Romans believed it. Wall Street wants you to believe it. But mathematics is an unforgiving force. The debt that they cannot repay will not be repaid, and you will feel the impact. The system will eventually seek equilibrium, and when it does, the correction will match the magnitude of the lies they told you. The financial elite know this. That is why they are buying hard assets while telling you to hold paper. Farmland, water rights, gold. They are building lifeboats while telling you that your ship is unsinkable. Their script never changes. You are approaching the endgame of the debt supercycle. The tools they used to pacify you in 2008 are now broken. Central banks cannot lower rates below zero without destroying the very banking system that holds your deposits. They cannot print more money without triggering hyperinflation that burns your society to the ground. The corner they have painted you into is absolute. Your exits have been permanently welded shut. When the next systemic shock arrives, there will be no rescue for you. The illusion you live in will evaporate instantly. The architecture of global power will violently restructure. If you are holding their paper wealth, you will be left with nothing. The 2008 crisis was not a failure of the system. You need to understand it was the system functioning exactly as designed against you. It extracted your wealth and transferred it to the protected class, a flawless, brutal mechanism of theft. Understanding this is your only way to protect yourself. History rewards those of you who see through the illusion. The media will tell you the next crisis is a black swan, an unpredictable anomaly. Do not believe them. It is a white swan, visible, predictable, mathematically guaranteed by the debt they accumulated over your lifetime. The era of financialization is reaching its terminal phase. The real economy you sweat for is about to reassert dominance. Energy, commodities, tangible infrastructure. These are your only anchors when their paper hurricane makes landfall. The elite understand this transition. They are quietly rotating their wealth away from the very markets they tell you to buy. The greatest trick Wall Street ever pulled was convincing you that their survival was your survival. You bailed out your captors. You financed your own economic subjugation. You bought their illusion. But illusions require your belief, and your belief in the global financial system is eroding faster than your purchasing power. Alternative systems are being built in the shadows, decentralized, hard-capped, immune to their quantitative easing. A silent revolution of capital is underway. The central banking cartel is fighting a war of attrition against your financial awakening. They will attempt to force central bank digital currencies onto you, the ultimate tool of absolute financial surveillance. Programmable money, their ability to dictate where, when, and how you spend. Your final cage. The legacy of 2008 brings you to a fork in the road of human history. Your freedom versus their total control. To understand your economic power today, you must realize that their power is fragile, terrified, and highly leveraged. The architects of the crisis did not win. They merely bought time with your stolen money. Your time is running out. The debt clock is ticking. You cannot ignore the mathematics forever. Prepare yourself. Do not trust the institutions that engineered your collapse. Educate yourself on real value. The illusion of 2008 is fading. The stark reality of your 21st century is here. Those of you who see the system for what it is will survive. Those who trust the illusion will be swept away. History is your only reliable witness. It whispers the truth to you, if you are willing to listen to its echoes. The financial crisis never ended for you. It simply went into hiding, metastasizing into something far worse. Your reckoning is not a matter of if. It is a mathematical certainty of when. Under this video, there's a subscribe button. It's not just a click. It's a decision. If you value understanding systems before they fail, if you want history decoded instead of repackaged, subscribe. And tell me, where are you watching from? Have you seen patterns like this in your country?